Hi, Priscilla. It's really nice to meet you. It's been great to talk with you over the phone and everything. I'm so happy you're here. And it would be, I think, really appropriate if you'd come up here and talk to us and say whatever you want to say. This is Taylor's niece, who was the angel who appeared to get Taylor out of his hellhole apartment that clearly had propped him up alive forever, and all of Stephen Paul Miller's great quotes, etc. But so Priscilla Mead, Scylla, she is on Facebook. Come on up here. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah.
I'm not like Taylor. I'm never one to really stand up and talk. But
No, but that's just called a microphone.
this is a microphone.
Just speak in there, and the chips that are planted at birth will begin to vibrate.
Well, I'm a creative person too. I'm an art director and a graphic designer, and I'm usually behind the camera directing people. So this is really different for me. But I wanted to thank Bob very much for putting this together. This is such a nice group of people. I've been looking all over Facebook, watching, seeing who's coming, and it's just such a wonderful outpouring of people and just wonderful notes and remembrances. And we really will do something this fall, something official the way he liked it. He wanted to have a service at St. Mark's Church where he used to read poetry I guess on his birthday. I'd be calling him on his birthday. He said, "Oh, sorry, I gotta go read poetry over at St. Mark's." So that was always New Year's Eve. So off he went. And also, he does want Hungarian folk dance, and he has a list of other really beautiful music. His mother was a concert pianist, and he just appreciated the arts so much. And I got him to my house, finally got him out of his apartment, and he was so happy just to have a very comfortable bed, not a futon on some boxes. And he would play simultaneously my TV, and he found a really good station in Denver that's very much like the one here he loves so much. He just loved the NPR opera and the classical, and he found jazz in the morning he loved. And he was just great. And I took him up to Vail last weekend, and we went to a Cinco de Mayo party that I actually had, and he enjoyed that, and my friends, and just was very comfortable and very happy. And unfortunately, he had a stroke, and I found him right away, but there wasn't much we could do for him. And he made his own choices. He could talk a little bit, and I've never pushed him to do anything. You know, with Taylor, you can't tell him what to do. He just has to make up his own mind to do it. So he really wanted to do this. He was all set to go down to New Orleans with his great buddy, Blake Boyd, and he didn't make it, unfortunately, that far, but he had dreams to come back. Just so you know, I wasn't like yanking him out of here. But I know one of his favorite poems, and of course he would agree with me to read this, but it's called "They're All Dead." And I know it's reflecting on a couple of people I have met and have not, but it's family members too. But they're all dead, every one of them. Mrs. Ziegler, Auntie Grace, all dead as doornails. Denver Williams, his mother and father, and old Mrs. Denver, daughter of the general after which Denver, Colorado is named. All dead. My mother, my crazy Aunt Dorothy, doornails, everyone. I love them in my fashion, in their fashion, passionately love them. Now, a whole raft of, okay, these long words, crossing your cowboys, streaming out there, blowing faint impressions, backbot vast, sad, still alive, no one ever really dies. Mixed ethereally, yes, dead as doornails, melting, sinking, mixing. Taylor Mead. Thank you.
So Priscilla, That was just wonderful. So you and Taylor worked out the deal with the landlord.
Yes, we did.
You did. And you know how many years people have been telling him to do that, and do that, and do that, and do that.
He was afraid they would throw him out. He was afraid, he was so afraid, he had nightmares every night of being thrown out. And finally, he ended up in the hospital with some heart issues. And I thought, oh boy. And I'd been reading in the paper about the evil landlord. And I said, oh, I think I'm going to give a call. So I called the landlord's office, and I got the quote-unquote good landlord. And he said, thank God Taylor has family. And I said, oh yeah, he's my favorite uncle. Well, next to my cousin's dad. But anyway.
Who's still living?
And my other cousin's dad.
Who's not?
And all my other cousins dad. But he, well, this would be the crazy uncle. Everybody has one, and I was so lucky. I was so lucky. And Studio 54, we always had a blast every time. We had the best time. I just loved him and called him all the time. And my dad was always in touch with him. But my dad was a lawyer, so he never understood Taylor. And I said, look, Dad, here's Google. Well, early in the day, I think it was called Dogpile. Yeah. But anyway, I'm dating myself. But anyway, my dad came to my office, my ad agency, and I said, look, I'm going to Google you. So I Google him, and there's my dad's name and address and the fact he's a lawyer. So I Googled Taylor, and at that time there were 6,000 to 10,000 hits. Now it's like millions, but my dad was like, really? He's famous? I said, yeah. So he just loved it. But long story short, called the landlord, and the landlord said, all we want to do, we're renovating the whole building, all we want to do is fix the holes in his apartment. And that would just take just cleaning it up, and he can leave. And for 3 weeks, and then he can come back when we're done. And we're not going to do, we know that we're not going to do anything fancy. We're not going to take the 3 months to totally gut the place like everything else, but he's welcome to come back. And at that time, I spoke with a lawyer that volunteered his services, who happens to be the brother of a friend of mine from Detroit, where I used to live, small world. And so the lawyer talked and the guy said, yeah, that's legit, it's all set. So I said to Taylor, I said, well, my cousin Priscilla and I will come help clean up. And so he said, oh, okay. He trusted me well enough to know that he'd come back, and we got it in writing that he could come back, and that was fine. So just when I came back, and he said, as time was going on, we were cleaning up, and the landlord said, well, maybe, we could talk about something permanent for you if you want to leave, and offered him a little bit of money. And he's like, we thought that was all fair when he offered, and gave it to him. And he said, that's okay, I'm fine with that. So he was really fine. So we were very happy that Taylor made every decision. No one could force me to do anything, so we had him make the decision.
How close was Taylor to absolute destitution, economically?
He wasn't. He was very fortunate that his stepmother died about 6 years ago and left him a little bit of money. And my dad died last year, about 11 months ago, and made sure he had some money. So he wasn't completely destitute. And there's no way that any of us would ever, still starving artist here, but he would never be totally destitute.
He still owes me $100.
Hey, just line up over here. Get behind Cipriano's. Largest bar bill in New York City. Cipriano's.
He put it in writing. We don't. He didn't really leave a will, so it's all going to be tied up for years, unfortunately.
So you got on the airplane and you went out to Denver, and went out to the house. How long was he there, really, until he had the stroke?
About 3.5 weeks. And I made breakfast for him every day and lunch, and he, had some food. Not quite as fabulous as Cipriano's or especially Lucian, who is always wonderful and taking good care of him.
Yeah. Are you here, Lucian? He's supposed to come
We
over
just saw him a little
today.
while ago. He said he'd try to come by later.
Great.
But I don't blame Taylor for loving Lucian, because not only is he a great guy, but the food is yummy. So
It's over at First and First if you've never been there.
First, Taylor liked the cauliflower soup with the truffle oil. Taylor was vegetarian, but you might put a little shrimp there, or a little lobster, or just something tasty. And he said, "Oh, I'm a vegetarian, but I cheat." So I'm even wearing his whatever shirt from the Taylor Mead show, which I heard quite a bit of time. Taylor, do you want this? Whatever. But he was very happy. I had a cat and a dog, and he loved the animals, and he loved his tours through Denver, and seeing his my sister and brother and his little niece and nephews. He was just enjoying everything. So I'm happy that he went out on a high note and very quickly, where he was able to make a decision, and he was paralyzed his left side, and he wasn't going to recover. So he made the decision, and he couldn't get his Quaaludes, he couldn't get his Vicodin, but he decided to take some morphine and go to sleep. Yeah.
And they always did it his way. That's for sure.
You can't tell. Oh man, I'd say, Taylor, take your medicine. Oh, I know my body. So they just whatever he wanted to do. So he made all his decisions about this.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Other questions?
Thank you for being here. I don't know if you guys, I've never been to an event like this, but it's just like Taylor.